Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ephrom Josine Show. It's a podcast. I'm starting to just talk about news. If you do not know, I've been doing political commentary on this channel on and off for about 2 years now. I figured I'd just combine all the stories into one big thing a day, which is what I'm doing now. So let's get this started. This is the Ephrom Josine Show. I already said that. First off, House Speaker Paul Ryan has announced he is not running for re-election in this upcoming midterm. He is currently joining, I believe, about 30 Republicans to not run in 2018, even though their seats are eligible. Of course, including Jeff Flake and many others. So these are a couple questions. One, why is this leads to a couple questions. One is, why is Paul Ryan doing this? And the reason is, even though Donald Trump's popularity is only going up, he knows it's going to crash soon. It's only temporary. You saw it with Bush, where it was, granted it was to a much larger level, but it was still a boom bust. And I mean bust, like his economic policies. So, yeah, it's clear that it's going to happen again with this. And this time, though, because mind you, even most of those counterculture conservatives, as they call themselves, they don't like Paul Ryan. You know, they think he's a shill for the GOP. They're angry at him because he couldn't repeal Obamacare. They're angry at him couldn't get a better tax plan passed. Granted, they define better differently than I do, but still. And so this leaves us with one other question: who's going to take his place? Honestly, I think it will probably be either a Bannon-esque Republican, and as of right now, we don't really have any Bannon-esque Republicans in the House, so it'll more than likely be someone who's only been in there for a good term or two. But there are some names I'm also thinking. I imagine Nunes is on the top of their list for who they're going to put up next. I also think it's possible they're going to put up Scalise, the one who was shot just, I think, a year ago. But that's a gigantic maybe in my mind. Whoever the next Speaker of the House is, mind you, they're going to have a lot to pick up because the GOP is currently in shambles. There's currently been an effort by the Bannon-esque Republicans, similar to what the Tea Party was doing back in 2010, to sort of get rid of all the establishment types. And, mind you, that movement may not have been getting traction until Donald screwed it all up with our next story. Yup, it turns out just after putting Bolton as one of his top security advisors, who was one of the king neocons, he was, I think, UN ambassador during the Bush administration. Britain and France decided to bomb Syria over a supposed chemical weapons attack. Wait. Chemical weapons? So what you were telling me is Syria has weapons of mass destruction. Forgive me if I'm a little skeptical at that notion. You know, after the last time I was told it. By Republicans, specifically. But yeah, the U.S. bombed Syria doing another intervention, and this is essentially an atrocious move. Mind you, I could have sworn Donald Trump was colluding with Russia. Now he's bombing one of Russia's only allies within the Middle East, and not only that, but one of ISIS and Al-Qaeda's greatest threats in the Middle East. Al-Qaeda is currently on our side in Syria, specifically because when you remove Assad, that gives greater ground for them. And for that matter, remember all these people on the right? I remember I saw Tommy Lawrence talk about how James Mattis obliterated ISIS, yet they can never point to the exact things he did that actually did that. It wasn't anyway. It was Kurt Armies. But we'll give him all that. We'll pretend all of that it's true. None of it is, but we'll pretend it's true. Okay, now he's giving more and more power to the Syrian government. Or not the Syrian government, to ISIS, my bad. He's giving more and more power to ISIS by actively destabilizing a government. Assad was a stabilizing force in Syria. And we'll even ignore the ambiguity around a chemical weapons attack. And the fact that there's very little evidence really linking Assad, and the fact that General Mattis even admitted the last one they bombed Syria for had nothing to do with Assad. We'll ignore all of that. Instead, let's just focus on the fact that from a foreign policy perspective, going after Assad is one of the worst moves you could make as a leader of a country. Specifically because all that does is strengthen ISIS. I don't like the fact that's all it does, but that's all it does, unfortunately. And again, I don't even like Assad. I think obviously he's a bad guy. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Assad is this great, outstanding man. But the fact is, he just did, and for that matter, this article says that the chemical weapons attack killed nearly 40 people. You think drones haven't killed that many people? Really? But no, go on, bang the drum about how we're all for human rights while we continuously arm Saudi Arabia, which actively funds these groups, mind you. Saudi Arabia gives funding to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. 50 out of 1911 hijackers from Saudi Arabia. We've never invaded Saudi Arabia. Wouldn't that make more sense? Invade them? But instead we can get Britain and France on our side this way, I take it, even though they've already been on our side for years, and by years I mean decades. It's just kind of painful to look at sometimes, the state of this nation. But don't worry, though. I could be stating all these reasons why it's going on. Host of Real Time, Bill Maher, who is best known for telling liberals that liberal values should screw off, going after Democrats for criticizing Pelosi, supporting Trump's Jerusalem decision. He's really just an all-around establishment shill of a political commentator. Found out the real reason it's going on. You see, Donald Trump is bombing Syria, which is one of Putin's allies, specifically to cover up Russian collusion. It makes perfect sense when you think about it. You see, well, maybe if you add the 4. What? But yeah, this is the mind of these people who believe in the Russia story. It doesn't even make any sense. I'm not even a fan of Donald Trump. I'm going to make that very clear. I think I just made that very clear. And even I'm not buying the Russia thing because there's simply no evidence of it. And now, the only evidence they actually have is not even, well, he might have done this. Well, this could have theoretically happened. Well, you know, this may have led to this. No, the most they have is he was doing it to cover it up, which doesn't even make any sense. It's the typical mind of nonsense conspiracies that, oh, why, the evidence against me twists around to be evidence for me, huh? Anyway, I'm trying to make it so each one of these episodes covers at least 2 stories, or it's about 10 minutes, and so I figured up next, you know what, I assume you guys know who Matt Walsh is. He's one of the Daily Wire's columnists. It's Ben Shapiro's right-wing circle jerk of a website. He wrote an article. Now, the thing is with Matt Walsh is I absolutely love Matt Walsh for all the wrong reasons. You know, I just absolutely adore the man because of how insane he is. And I mean that. Here's the thing about Matt. I went to pull up one of his articles I was about to do this segment on. I already saw another one I could cover tomorrow. I may actually cover it tomorrow. Because Matt is just a treasure like that. So here's the article. It has his name in it. 4 terrible things that are destroying boys in our culture. Of course, Matt is buying into the whole right-wing, there's a war on men conspiracy that doesn't make any sense when you think about it for roughly half a second. Okay, but okay, let's actually read his reasons. He has 4. 1. Our culture preys relentlessly on a boy's weakness. Let's imagine the world the average 13-year-old boy inhabits. He has long since been exposed, in bold for some reason, to hardcore pornography and probably watches it regularly. Then puberty hit. Were kids in your day doing a lot of hardcore pornography for puberty? Like you were 11. Like I'm gonna watch this hardcore porn. I don't really feel anything while watching it, but I'm gonna watch it anyway. You know, just because. I know I'm nitpicking. His hormones are going haywire. His brain is hardwired itself to focus obsessively on sex. He cannot really help it. He is now fertile, even as girls his age, for the most part, are not. I don't, I don't think that's true. Females typically start puberty a few years earlier than males. I could be wrong on that, though, so don't quote me. He feels the biological impulse to go out and find a sexual partner, though he does not understand this urge, and his concept of human sexuality has been perverted and confused by porn habits he developed in 6th grade. Matt, what were you doing in 6th grade? Matt, what were you doing in 6th grade? I want to know. I want to know. I like this so much, by the way, because this just shows Matt's view of the world. The boy cannot escape sex. It's all over his computer. As someone who had to access the Daily Wire on a computer, he's right. You can't see it, but there are just pop-up ads for porn everywhere. All over his phone. All over social media. All over the TV. I don't think you know what the Federal Communications Commission is, Matt. All over the music he listens to. Oh man, Rock Lobster was such a sexy song. Okay, I get it, my musical tastes are weird. He goes to school and his female classmates are dressed like strippers. What school did you go to, Matt? I keep asking, what was your childhood like, Matt Walsh? I want to know. Just, is there any school that allows girls to go essentially naked? Because that's what a stripper is. He goes anywhere and that's how the women are dressed. Well, then you can report him for public indecency. It seems that everyone is doing everything they can to make a degenerate and a creep out of him. He had to use the term degenerate, my God. Even as they demand that he control himself. We ask for self-discipline and self-control from the boy while providing him with no tools to develop them. His own intelligence and intellect, Matt. And even then, there are biological, well, tricks, essentially, you can use. I mean, masturbation, for instance. I wonder what... Oh, who am I kidding? This is Matt Walsh. Rather than tools, we give him temptations, non-stop temptations everywhere he goes, all day, every night, right at the moment when his brain is the least capable of overcoming it. Well, that's called dealing with the world, Matt. That's something we should be teaching people. He then goes on to essentially say kids are virgin shamed, which, okay, I guess that's true. And then he confuses what's essentially normal sex with rape, which is always fun. But okay, number 2, there is a catastrophic lack of male role models. This one I do actually agree with to some extent. 17 million kids live in homes without fathers. Citation needed. I don't think it's that high. In the black community, around 70 or 80% are father. Okay, definitely citation needed for that one, Matt. I'm almost certain it's not that high. Almost all kids have mothers, and they have mostly female teachers. They're even more likely to have grandmothers than grandfathers, as men die significantly earlier. A girl will have no shortage of female role models, which is a fact we're celebrating. It is a profound advantage that many boys with their privilege do not enjoy. Even the boys who have dads may not have male role models. Very often, despite the father's physical presence, the mother is still the spiritual leader. Again, he bolded that for no reason. Of the household. There are plenty of fathers who stick around but then refuse to take part in the children's moral formation. Again, citation needed. But this is Matt Walsh. This is how Matt Walsh operates. He wants to present this dark and gloomy view of the world. He essentially wants to make the world those 1950s sitcoms, which, okay. But then he provides this weird view when reality just does not mash up with those. He then continues to go on about how essentially men are losing their manhood or something. Number 3, the education system is designed for girls. This one's my favorite, personally. There is a reason why girls outperform boys in school. Oh, sorry, outperform! Girls are not smarter on average, but they are of an easier time. The way the classroom is set up to reward the calm and organized demeanor more natural to them. Well, would you prefer we allowed students to tackle each other in classes, Matt? Because I will not disagree with you that this is something that is probably an issue. But my question is, what's your solution? And you simply don't have any. Boys are more rambunctious, they have more physical play, they are less able to sit still and less able to focus. Okay, yeah, all that. Here's my favorite part. He talks about dropout rates and not dropout rates and expulsion, and then, perhaps worst of all, boys are twice as likely, that one actually makes sense to be bolded, to be diagnosed with ADHD. By high school, 20% of boys, 20%, he had to repeat that number. He had to repeat that number because he's Matt Walsh and kind of forgot it midway through the sentence, are diagnosed, yet we never seem to stop to ask ourselves why boys are more susceptible to this mysterious mental condition. Oh my God, Matt. Whoa, you've blown my mind. But wait, Matt. If what you're saying is right, why is it only 20%? Now, let's assume what you're saying is right, and that this public school system is really medicating kids to keep medicating specifically men, to keep them from being men. Shouldn't it be in the 90%? It should actually probably be 100%, given what you think the world is. But now, 20% seems a little low, Matt. I'll go get the feminist Illuminati together, the social justice warrior Illuminati, and we will make sure we simplify a definition of ADHD more until we can get 100%. Don't worry, Matt. This is my favorite part just in general. If the school system were not predicated on sitting still and memorizing things, and it need not be, there would be no ADHD. You're right, Matt. And if we didn't need to eat, there'd be no diabetes. Boom! And then number 4 is masculinity is denigrated. You might think we've already done enough to boys. We've made our point. We've shoved sex in their face, deprived them of role models, and forced them into an education system that treats their personality as a disease, 1/5 of the time. But we are not satisfied. Finally, in case any survive the gauntlet, we attempt to bury them in self-loathing. Femininity is attacked in our culture as well, but not nearly so explicitly or directly. No one would ever call femininity itself toxic or fragile. No one really says that outside of the deepest parts of Twitter, Matt. Nobody talks about female privilege. Watch as he contradicts himself right here. Even though, as I have demonstrated, females enjoy many unique privileges, no one talks about it except for me because I'm Matt Walsh. No one would label all women dangerous. They're called MGTOWs, or potential monsters to be feared. Again, Google MGTOW, dude. These are special denigrations reserved only for manhood. I like how his 4th point isn't even really a point. It's just sort of an epilogue of the article, by the way. But I'm nitpicking now. This wouldn't be so bad if not for the fact that boys are emerging from childhood already broken. They're in no condition to endure the anti-male onslaught, so they will stay broken. And we will not acknowledge that they are broken, and we will not face the fact that we are the ones who broke them. Matt, I'm just gonna be honest with you. If there is one conservative I actually do like, it is you. I mean that when I say that. You shouldn't take that as a compliment, though. Matt, keep doing what you are. That's where the article ends, by the way. Matt, you are insane, and I absolutely love you on every level. He should really just come out one day, even if this isn't true, and just say, yeah, I was doing the Colbert bit and took it a bit too far into the wire. I'd believe that so hard. But anyway, that's it. I'm Ephrom, and good night.